Welcome to the Class Business Podcast. I'm Chrissy Monaghan, your host, and today we're joined by Ashling Podmore, the owner of Kumon St Helens. Ashling supports children from early years right through to GCSE with a real focus on building confidence, independence, and creating an inclusive space for every child to succeed. She's been nominated for Community Impact Award at the Class Business Awards, and after reading her application, I can see exactly why. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, so let's dive in. Ash, it's absolutely amazing to have you here today on the podcast. For everyone who is listening online or watching on YouTube, can you tell everyone who you are, what do you do, and where do you do it?
Yes, of course. I'm really happy to be here today having a chat with you. So I'm Ashling and I run Kumon, which is a franchise for English and Maths tuition for children aged 3 up to 15. Predominantly, I work with children who are primary school aged, some children who are also in the early years. And I guess what I do at the moment is a lot to do with education, but I'm starting to branch out a little bit more. So I've recently signed up to your business strategist course, and I'm really hoping that this is going to help me with supporting more Kumon franchises or other tutors to be able to support children better. And I've also recently set up a passive income stream as well. It's very, very new. So it's, in the first month or so, supporting families who have been through a toxic or a bit of a traumatic relationship, how I can support those parents to talk to their children and help them understand what's going on and how they feel about it.
All right, so there's a lot going on right now. You came into my world last year when you did one of my free events, and then you joined our Fill My Classes program. But let's just go back to when you first started. What did you do before you became a franchisee?
So I worked in nurseries, so in the early years sector for about 9 years. And I started as an apprentice, worked all the way up to being a manager in the business. And then I found that I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do because of my passion's always been working with children. And I wasn't doing that. I was kind of doing the admin, I was managing staff. I wasn't even in the room with the children. So I went on to have my daughter in 2019 and decided it was probably time for a career change. So with my sister, I set up a children's holiday camp, and we ran that for a few holidays whilst I was on maternity, but the timing was a little bit off. So we tried to get our Ofsted registration. It took a really long time. And by the time everything came through, my daughter was 3 weeks old when we first launched the holiday camp. So the timing was really, really off. And then COVID hit and we decided that this probably wasn't going to work out for us. So we shut that down. And I set up a different business with my friend. We were doing baby sensory classes and I trained myself in Makaton. I started to deliver children's singing and signing classes. And I really enjoyed that until my son came along in 21 and I was taking the children with me to the sessions because I just didn't have the childcare. And at that point, I was in a bit of a toxic relationship myself and I didn't realize that's what was going on. So over the next couple of months, I decided it was time to leave and decided that I would shut down the business because it just wasn't the right time to upheave the children. We moved in with my mum. We lived in like a 1-bedroom, all of us together whilst we were getting ourselves back onto our feet. And after that, I was like, right, let's do something. I really wanted to show my children that, whilst the relationship had broken down, we could still find something positive here, and started looking at what I should do. So I had done Kumon as a child myself when I was about 10. And whilst I was at university, there was a local Kumon centre and I worked for them as a class assistant for a few years. So I always really enjoyed that environment. So I was like, maybe I could do something like that. And when I logged onto the Kumon website to inquire about becoming a franchisee, the centre where I was living was actually just about going up for sale and they were looking for somebody to take it over. So some people think I'm a bit loopy, but I kind of believe in following the universe and trusting your gut. So I was like, this is a sign, everything's aligning. This is what I'm supposed to do. So the house had just sold. I put all of my money into it and I bought the franchise. And that was in November 23. So I've been running it for just over 2 years now, and we've grown quite a bit. So when I took over, we had about 36 students. We now have nearly 140 students. And a lot of that growth has happened in the last 6 months since I first started your Fill My Classes training. So when I met you, I was at the point of the business is going really well. It's growing. We're getting our name out there, and word of mouth was starting to come through. Was a little bit of less marketing needed, but I just wanted to give it that final push and get to where I wanted to be. And that's when I decided to make the decision and jump in with you. And I actually had a conversation with Michelle, who's one of your business strategists, I think. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, I don't know if now is the right time because tuition's really quiet in November, December. Maybe in February would be a better time for me. And she kind of said, you need to have the knowledge now. You don't want to be gaining the knowledge and trying to implement it at the same time. So this is a good time. And also, why can't a tuition centre be busy in November and December? Just because it's never happened before doesn't mean it can't happen now. So I decided I would jump in, give it a go. And we actually had our busiest January. So we grew by half in the space of literally 3 months after doing your course. So it's doing really well.
You've done amazingly. And it's just such a journey that you've come on. I'm like, obviously, I didn't even know about these other businesses that you'd shut down. And the thing is, you learn a lot by doing all of that anyway. So it makes it a lot faster when you do get into the right vehicle because you know what to do. And so you got to running the centre, which has been amazing. And I'm so happy for you that you've increased your capacity and you're going into 2026 with a solid plan. Because I know we fixed a lot of annual sales, didn't we, in terms of converting people from trials to paid bookings. So, but when you got your journey was quite personal from saying, all of you living in with your mum in one room, that takes some bleeding guts for you to have taken that leap initially to leave and then to start a business. What do you feel like is inside you that's made you do that? Because I know it springs to mind, you're tenacious, you've obviously got drive. Is there something that's driven you to do all of this?
Well, thank you. I guess I've always really liked a challenge, and I've always believed in, kind of taking your lemons and turning them into lemonade. So I've always had a bit of a mindset of any pain that you have, turn that pain into a purpose. And I think having children changes your outlook as well. I think once you've had children, you tend to live for them, and everything you do is about demonstrating what they can do in the future and being a good role model. So I just never wanted my children to think that somebody could treat me that way, and I would just say, right, that's it, my life's ruined, and just leave it there. I wanted them to know that you could have, no home and go to finding somewhere that's safe for everybody to live, that you could go from having no job, because at the time I was on maternity, so I actually didn't have a job. I didn't have access to any funds of my own, so I had a lot to lose. But staying just wasn't an option, because I was showing the children that this wasn't appropriate, and I didn't ever want them to think that it was normal to accept that. And that's where the whole new business has come from. I think that understanding toxic relationships is something that's only just starting to come to light. And when I first left, I didn't realize that I'd been in an abusive relationship. I just thought that, he'd not been very nice to me, and it just hadn't worked out. There was a bit of conflict, and that was the situation. But it was only as I started to speak to more people, and everyone was like, oh, you should share some of this information with the right companies. And I ended up with an IDVA, which is a independent domestic violence advocate. And when I started to speak to them, that's when I realized that actually there was so much more going on here, and that it wasn't just about physical violence that is what you would describe as a toxic or an abusive relationship. So a lot of my goal is about getting that information out there and helping people really understand what's happening, and making sure that our children understand what's happened and why they feel that way.
I'm 100% confident that you will make that a success, because I know you're already making that difference already. And you talk a lot about confidence, like I can do this, and showing children that they can do it as well. What does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis in your centre right now, like helping children with their confidence?
Oh, so yeah, I would say that is probably one of the important parts of what we do. So when families come to me in the centre, we start with a 1 hour free assessment. So they come in and we have a little bit of a chat. So for me, it's all about building that connection first with them. So what I want to understand is what's happened. So I'll observe the child, and it's not just about understanding what their struggles are. Sometimes it's about understanding like their attitude to learning as well. And that's where confidence comes into it. So some children are actually able, but they don't feel confident, or there's one foundational issue that's happening that is affecting their confidence and that belief that, I don't think I can do this. And when they have that belief that they can't do it, they often stop being curious and they stop trying. And my goal is always for children to kind of unlock their full potential and believe that they can do it. And a lot of what we do is not giving children the answer, but making sure that everybody has like an individualized plan and it's specific to them. So it's just right level of learning for them in terms of their ability, their self-belief, quantity of work that they're able to do. And that's where the confidence starts to grow again. So we take it right back to the foundations and we look at what's actually happening. So kind of peeling back that onion and thinking, where's this all coming from? So a lot of what I see is children who parents will say, oh, they know how to do the work, but they're just not confident. I'm not really sure what's happening. And when I observe them, it's things like they're still finger counting, or for every single question, they're calculating the answer. There's no recall. So in the way that I say to you, what's 5+5? And you naturally know the answer, they don't have any recall ability. And when they don't have that, everything they do is slow. And when everything is slow, the mental exhaustion that they feel when they're doing work is quite high. And that's where the lack of confidence comes. Or when they're at school and everybody else has managed to complete the sheet of work and they've only managed 2 questions because they're not being efficient, that's when all those self-beliefs start to set in. So yeah, it's all about confidence, and it all stems from understanding what's driving that belief that they have about themselves.
So when you say about it's the recall that they don't have, what do you think's causing that?
A lot of recall comes from repetition. So sometimes the schooling system, I don't want to say it's not fit for purpose, but sometimes it doesn't fit every child's way of learning. There's only one teacher in the class, sometimes one teaching assistant. So the ratio is high. They're following the national curriculum and they're trying to meet the needs of all of these different children. So sometimes the work just goes too far ahead and they've just not had time to master a particular skill. And a lot of what happens is each skill that you learn is built on something that came previously. And if there's a skill that's come prior that just isn't mastered, then everything after that naturally gets more and more tricky. And as the work gets harder and harder, it's so much more difficult for children to develop efficient skills or recall skills on work that is already challenging for them. And that's why we sometimes have to go back to those basic skills, and we have to use work that they are already familiar with to build those skills in.
That makes complete and utter sense, and it sounds like you guys are doing amazing work. Because there are so many children that, like you just said, I always feel like they're a sausage getting pushed through the machine, regardless if they're a sausage or not.
Yeah, one size fits all.
Yeah, they're on that train and they can't get off. Inclusion is like a huge part of what you do, especially like with SEND children, EAL, neurodiverse learners. So what have you had to change or adapt in your business to like make it work for all those children?
So basically everything, and I will change everything and anything. So if there's particular tools that they need, like ear defenders, because the noise level is too high, if they need a particular staff member that they prefer working with, we will organise staffing in that way. We've reduced ratios down. If there's children who need more support than what we were originally able to provide on our previous ratios, we change the layout of the classroom if we need to. A lot of our children are studying on the tablet now. This was something that came in during COVID, our Kumon Connect system, and it's really fantastic. So by studying on the tablet, it gives us lots more options. So I can change the color of the screen for children who need a particular color overlay, whereas before that's something that was really tricky. You couldn't put an overlay on a piece of paper because they needed to be able to write where the overlay was. So there's lots of different things that, we're doing at the moment, and I just take it on a child by child basis. So my children are on the pathway at the moment. So one of my children, she's 6 now, but she has always been ahead of school level. And I always struggled to know how to support her at the beginning. So actually, when I first joined Kumon as an instructor, I also put her into Kumon, and she's really kind of flown through the levels, and it gives her the opportunity to progress as far as she's able to. And I kind of unlock her full potential. And my son is 4. So he should have started school last year, but I actually made the decision to defer him under the Summerborn scheme because I didn't feel that he was ready. And a lot of his issues are around retention and recalling information. And he's on the Kumon program, and it's supported him as well to start developing those basic number skills, phonics skills as well. So I guess what I love about the Kumon program is we're really about individualization. So each child is doing their own piece of work. So I could have a class full of year 2 students, for example, and not one of them would be doing the same piece of work, and not one of them would have the same learning objective either. So yeah, inclusion's really big for me. I feel that I'm probably like neurodivergent myself, and I've always had to try and fit in with the schooling system. And the more children that I'm meeting, I'm realizing that there's a lot of children who are homeschooled at the moment, not because the parent has chosen for homeschooling, but they've had to pull them out because the schooling system just isn't working for them. And they've been able to come to our Kumon Centre, and we've been able to support their needs and integrate them back into education. And I think that's really important for me, that children who aren't accessing kind of traditional education have still got access to education that is working for them. And we see a whole range of different neurodivergent children, from ADHD to different parts of the spectrum for autism. We've had children who have been selective mute in the past as well. So there's a whole range of students that we'll support, and we'll adapt the programme to meet their needs.
It sounds like you're doing amazing work. It's just a shame that they can't do the same in the schools. Like, if you guys are doing it, then why can't it be done in the classroom?
Of course. But yeah, I think the other thing I didn't mention as well. Sorry, Christine, I was going to say as well that we also found in our area that we happened to have quite a few Sri Lankan children speaking Tamil who had started at the centre, and I was struggling to communicate with the parents. So I was speaking into their phone to use like a translator. The children, their English, a lot of the children's English was better. But when I was trying to explain things like definitions of words that they hadn't seen before, I found that really, really tricky. So I made the decision to hire a Tamil speaking teacher, and she's fantastic. And since she started, we've had like double the amount of students join us who are Tamil speaking. So I think the word of mouth is getting around, but it's just fantastic that they also get the same feedback. So we give feedback to parents at the end of every class to let them know where the child is up to, what the plan is moving forward, any issues that we've encountered and how we solve them. And now all the children at the centre are able to get that because they're also supported by the Tamil speaking teacher who can help.
That's just brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant that you've literally, there's been a community that has now been supported that weren't going to maybe access those services properly. So well done. It sounds like it's so cool. You've grown the centre massively in a short space of time. And it's clear, it's not obviously just all about the numbers. How have you balanced the growth with maintaining the quality and everything else that you're building?
Yeah, so we've grown 4 times the size since when we very first opened just over 2 years ago to now. And that was probably one of my trickiest issues to overcome, was how do we maintain the quality with the quantity of students that we have? So obviously we always have a limit on how many students we'll take into the classroom at any one time. And we have, like I said, reduced down our ratios so that we've got more staff to children, and that's really helping. And then a lot of what I do is all about reflection. So we're really quite good as a team thinking about what do we need to do next to be better, and looking at each child that we have in our centre and making sure that we really are meeting their needs and what can we change if we need to. And that all comes down to staff training. So we do talk about I do a lot of on the job training, because I feel that we can sit down and I can put a PowerPoint on, I can talk them through something, but they won't learn it in the same way as if we do on the job training. So we'll pick a student and we'll observe together, and I'll talk about what I'm seeing, they'll talk about what they're seeing, and together we'll come up with the plan that we need, moving forward.
Oh, that's great, because they're doing, like you just said, they're like physically doing the training there and then, not having to sit in another room and come back. That's the best way for learning. Yeah. And you've delivered some amazing community initiatives, like the free writing workshop, Inspire Together program. What does that involve?
So the creative writing came from actually one child I had in the centre who is really passionate about writing. And he one day brought in this story and said, I've written a book. And he was so excited to share it with me. And I said to him, you're already an author then if you've written this book. And he didn't believe that you could be an author without it actually being published. And it got me thinking, because when I had left my previous toxic relationship, I had looked for support for my children and I couldn't find it. So I'd started to write some books for my own children. So each book was talking about a different type of adult toxic behavior, but without naming it. So I didn't say, this is the behavior. It was about my children listening to a story about a character and being able to draw parallels. And everybody kept saying to me, why have you got these books at home? And you could be sharing them. Other people would find these useful. So I decided to publish some of them. So I've got about 20 books I've written. I've published 3 last month. So that's like really exciting. And I thought, well, if I can be a published author and this child is really interested in writing, maybe we can bring it all together. And in St. Helens, where my centre is, it's quite a low socioeconomic area. And I thought this could also be a way to help the community. So we ran a free workshop. So it was writing a story in a day. So the children came in and we talked through about the structure and our characters and our settings. We talked about how there needs to be a problem in a story and a child. So when you have a problem, how do you overcome it? Is it through bravery? Is it through mindset? So we got the children thinking. And we got them all to create their story. And at the moment, I'm just currently getting it all typed and published. So we are going to publish the book. So we're going to have 16 child published authors through the workshop as well. And that was really great. So we've actually also had an editorial piece. It's being created at the moment to be written about ourselves. So it's the second time that we're going to be featured in the newspaper. So the first time was when I first opened. We were nominated as a #1 tutor in our local area. And this time we're now talking about how we've empowered children to start writing and that, anyone can be an author.
Wow, that's just amazing. That is amazing. And that's why you're a nominee for Community Impact in the Class Business Awards. So obviously awards, some people apply, some people don't apply. What made you decide, I'm going to apply and I'm going to get my application in early, so you had a chance to win this interview?
So when I saw your community award, I was like, that's perfect. That perfectly aligns with what I'm looking for. And like I say about the universe, I just believe that, this had come here and it was aligning with me. I was like, yeah, this is the one that's for me. It explains everything that is important to me in my business. And I believe in trying to impact as many people as possible. And to be able to do that, people need to know what you do and where you are and how to find you. So I wanted to apply for the awards because it's visibility, isn't it? It's getting your name out there, helping people see you, connect with you, understand what you're doing. So anyone who hasn't applied for an award yet, I would just say that would be, it's a fantastic opportunity to get visible. And even if you're not winning it, by going to the awards as well, you've got all those opportunities to network with people. So you can tell people what you do there. And the other thing you can do is tell people what you need. So there's a whole heap of different people doing different things. And those connections are really, really important. So for me, it's about visibility. It's about networking.
Yeah, and telling everyone about the amazing work that you guys are doing, what you're doing at your centre, and you are doing a massive amount of work for the local community and having an impact on children's and families' lives every single day. So well done. Like you're doing amazing things. So if anyone wants to connect with you, where's the best place where do you hang out online? Where can they find you?
Usually Instagram or Facebook, so I can share my link with you and you can share it with everybody. If that's okay.
Yes, of course we will. Yeah, and we'll look forward to, I've got my fingers and toes crossed for you that when all these applications go off to the judges, that you'll be a finalist, but you're already benefiting from being part of this awards process. So thank you so much for coming on today and telling us all about your story. I've really enjoyed listening about all the amazing work you're doing. So thank you for your time.
Oh, no, thanks for having me.